Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. If you've been here before, thank you so much for coming back. I truly appreciate it. If you haven't been here before, maybe I got you here with this guy today. Today we're going to be installing a room sensing switch, or I don't know, some people call them motion detection switches. This one here is a universal occupancy sensor. Yeah, so this is a universal occupancy sensor, and this is designed that if somebody walks into a room, the light will come on and stay on as long as there's motion or infrared. This one I believe is not infrared, I think it's just motion. It's going to be a pretty simple install today. I'll walk you guys through the process. I'm going to be installing this in our entrance inside of the house, because our switch for the entrance is on the other side of the room, which is probably I don't know, maybe 11, 12 feet from the main door. So when you walk in at night, you have to walk across the dark room to turn the light on. We had one in there before, it failed. It was in there for about 9 years. So I'm going to replace it with this one. It's really cheap. I got it at Canadian Tire. It was $21 plus tax. And I'm going to see what we can do. So let's get this opened up on the bench here. I'll show you what tools you're going to need and what's included. Alright, so here's a few tools that may come in really handy for this repair. Number one, I have some wire strippers. They don't have to be these fancy style of wire strippers, just any style, and or, you know, utility knife as long as you're careful. We're going to need a flat screwdriver, and this is going to be for removing the faceplate that's currently on there. Going to need a green Robinson, yellow Robinson. We got some side cutters. I'm going to bring the big red Robinson because you never know. Also got my fancy dancy little tiny power checker. And this is just to make sure that we have our power shut off when we get in there and start pulling the wires. There are the ways to make sure your power shut off, like the light doesn't come on, your power's off. But I always like a little extra security with this guy right here. Really cheap. I think it was $19. So that is what we're going to need for this repair, I believe, today. Alright, so I've already gone ahead and opened the impossible open packaging. So this is a pretty nice little switch. It's just a single line switch. We have on one side over here, we have purple, which I'm guessing they're going to say red because it says RD on the back here. So I'm guessing this is our load. And then we have black up on the top, and this would be our line voltage, I believe. I'll check the instructions and just to verify that. These are pretty simple switches. They operate like any normal up and down toggle switch. All they do is they break a circuit, so you open up a circuit. So if these two wires were actually married together inside of the box, we'd have constant power at the light. So all this does is just breaks that circuit so that the light can be turned on and off electronically with this cool little button. Now this is 180 degrees. Of motion sensing, so it comes out probably at about an angle like so and like so. So I think this is going to do perfect for the application. I'm normally not an instruction guide reader, but I'm going to check them out to see if there's any dip switches or timing that needs to be done. I'm not sure about that, but I'm going to get this in the house first. We're just going to open this up. We'll take a quicker look at it. All right, so still pretty simple. Doesn't appear to be any dip switches or programmable time on it. We have our ground, like I said. We have our load, and then we have our line voltage, or vice versa. I'm not quite sure. I'll have to look at the instructions. But all right, let's get in the house, and we'll go shut the power off on the breaker, and I'll show you guys where we're going to put this. So here's the safety disclaimer for this video. If you are uncomfortable playing around electrical, home electrical, or house wires, or you have no idea what you're doing whatsoever, please hire a professional. You can get seriously hurt or even die playing with something like this. It all depends on your comfort level. You have to be comfortable. You have to be aware of what's going on. But I do believe anybody can change one of these as long as you follow some, like I said, follow some tips during this video, making sure the power is off. That's why we're going to have this cool little tool so we don't get injured, and follow the instructions. And like I said again, if you don't feel safe, don't touch it. call a buddy, call an electrician, call somebody who knows what they're doing or feels comfortable doing it for you. So that is the disclaimer for this video. The weather is pretty miserable, I'll tell you, but we don't have any kids at home anymore, so what did my wife and I do? We did something really stupid. We got a puppy. Oh, Lord help us. Oh boy. What were we thinking? Hey, dog. Yep. Yeah, we did it. So hopefully your panel is clearly marked. Now I know mine is right over here, so this is my entrance right there, and that's off. So here's our switch that we're going to be replacing here. So that goes on and off. That's for that light fixture up there. So as you can see, the door is way over there. And the switch for the room here is right here, because this used to be an old camp and they converted it to a house, and this used to be a bedroom. So the entrance used to be here, and you would walk in, and I guess you would turn the light on, but now they put the door over here, and none of those switches over there operate this. So it's a little inconvenient. So let's get this guy apart. All right, we're going to start by removing our switch plate cover. Hang on to these because you never know, these get lost. Oh God. All right, now for this one we're going to be using our green Robinson. All right, so now if you're unsure whether or not you actually turn the power off, just grab it from the sides, pull straight out. Because if you do grab it from the sides, there are exposed nuts here, and you could get electrocuted or shocked. Now, I have this little tool right here, and this will tell me if there's power. So I have no power, so I am safe to touch these guys. Now, if we open up our box, we're going to see all we have is a black and a black on the switch. And we have the ground, and our neutral wires, which are the white wires, are in the back. And they're marred together because we don't need the neutral wires for this, because all we're doing is we're just breaking the power circuit here. So this is going to be pretty simple. I'm just going to snip these guys off. So you do have the nuts on the sides, which are what you're supposed to be using, but my personal opinion on these push-ins is those are a bad idea. Always coil your wire and use the nuts if you ever have the opportunity to. I think it's just a better way of doing stuff personally, and you know, not as much risk of arcing or fire with as you do with these guys. So you think you have a larger contact area for the power to go through on these than you do when they're just pressed into these little tiny thin pieces. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of those. All right, so next we're going to be stripping enough wire off the top of these here. Try to probably do about 1/4 inch. With the ground. So this is your very typical setup with home. You're going to have one wire that's going to be line voltage, and then one wire that's going to be load. Line voltage refers to your to the wire that's actually hot all the time, or that has the power. And then the load side is always going to be the side in which you're going to supply the power to. Like I said, in this case here, because we're being fed power from one of the lines coming in and just going up to the top, the whites are actually marred together on the back. Now there's a few different scenarios. This is just a really typical one. Other scenarios could involve the power being at the light, and then one of these wires is actually going to be white coming from the light, which would be your power. So it could get a little confusing. So if you do open your switch up and you have a white and a black, that's because the power is being fed from the actual light down to the switch. So that's a different scenario than this. This one's pretty simple. Now I'm just going to figure out which side of these is my line voltage by making sure that these are out of the way. And I'm going to go turn the power back on, and then I'm going to use my tester to see which one is my supply voltage. Then I know for sure when we install the switch, I'll know which wire to put on the red side and what wire to put on the black side. Okay, so the power is back on. Now before I even go ahead and test this, I'm going to summarize, or I'm going to guess that the supply voltage or the hot side is going to come out of the bottom, coming up this way here, and this is going to go up to the light just because it goes up. So I'm going to test the top one first. Nothing, and here we go. So that's my voltage, so I was correct. This is the actual line voltage, and it's going to be my load side. Okay, so don't forget to turn the power back off once you've checked that. I'm simply going to make some nice curls in my wire. Some little candy canes, if you want to call them. And that's so they'll go around those nuts. So we're going to open up our nuts all the way here and here. Now this particular switch is going to go like so, with the sensor facing up. Oddly enough, the supply voltage goes on the top up here. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we're putting the hook in the same way that we're turning the screw, which is clockwise. So it's pretty simple. All right, and the reason why we're putting it this way, clockwise, is so that when we tighten the screw, it also curls the wire so that it's not pushing it off. We're going to do the same thing to the other side. Flip it back over. Do the same thing with our ground wire. All right, so now that we have those all connected, we're going to immediately fold the wires in like so. Push them down on the ground and up so that they bend into the box nicely. I'm going to push those in until it's seated. And we can use our screws here. Just going to get that mounted back in there nicely like so. Now I'm not going to tighten it all the way tight. I'm going to tighten it so that it's nice and firm, but I still want a little bit of play just to make sure that it goes in nice and straight when I put my switch plate back on. All right, so we got our power back on. Our light is on, and if we hit the switch, it takes a couple of seconds to set itself according to the instructions. All right, now we got a switch. Now, if you're wondering how to adjust light sensitivity and timer, if you pinch that guy and you look down here, you'll notice there's two little set screws. And according to the manuals, you can set these to however you need. I think this one over here, I'm going to set mine to 30 seconds for light on because that's all we're going to need as long as there's motion. And the light sensitivity we're going to leave at 1. So let's try that. Okay, so we got that back on. And the light's on. Let's count to 30. All right, it's off. And it's back on as soon as I come into the room. So I'm not sure I want it to come on when it's daylight. So let's make some other adjustments here. So again, time and light. All right, so now we can mount our switch plate. Now these switch plate screws do not have to be tight, otherwise you'll crack your plate, so just snug. And just for aesthetics, I always like to put my screws one-way matching. Okay, so we got that mounted, and we know now that the switch works. Let's see up there, on, off. On, off. So there we go, guys. Pretty easy install. Nothing too complicated there. Hope this really helped. Installation of a Leviton occupancy sensor for our entrance, and that worked really well. And it's probably one of the first time I've ever read instructions, just by necessity. So, and don't forget, hit that subscribe button if you like what you see here, and we'll see you guys next time.